All right, well, I do see it's 1 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us to learn more about the 2024 Summer Youth Internship Program offered through the Future Ready Iowa. As we work through the slides here today, if you have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat, and we will try to answer any questions that we can as we go along. A complete Q&A and this slideshow and recording of the webinar will be posted on our Future Ready Iowa webpage in a few days from now. So we'll get time to compile all those questions and make sure we get those answered completely and have those posted. Today, we're going to cover a few introductions of some staff members that are going to be working and helping through the process. We'll go over the Summer Youth Internship Program grant. We will also discuss the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, the Title I Youth Program, and what a partnership with them may look like. We'll also cover requirements for successful applicants. In consideration of the any reporting requirements and reimbursement requests. We will watch a short video on the iowagrants.gov and how you can get registered and apply through that website for the Future Ready, or the Summer Youth Internship Program. And then at the end, we'll have a Q&A, hopefully have time for answer any questions that might pop up. So again, my name is Melanie Johnson. I will be the grant administrator for the Summer Youth Internship Program. I'll be assisting with questions during the application process that applicants may have on the program. And then I'll also be managing the subrecipients post-award, which would entail working with you, the successful applicants, to get any program reports done and reimbursement requests. We will also hear from Patrick Rice. He's the grant manager. He's going to be assisting with the application process in Iowa Grants this year, and will also be responsible for the application review process. We also have Ashley Sinwell on today. She is a workforce program coordinator with the Title I Youth Program. She serves as the liaison between the Summer Youth Internship and the Title I Youth Program. So where do you go to apply? Applications actually opened up in iowagrants.gov on January 18th, and those will run through February 21st with a deadline of 2 p.m. Central Time on that day. And we will also go over the Iowa Grants site in general at the end of the webinar. And if you have any questions related to Iowa Grants, you would work with Patrick Rice on those, and his information will be in there, and he's got some good stuff too. So diving into what is the Summer Youth Internship Program and what does the intent of the grant? It's to encourage businesses to develop programs that provide high school students and youth between the ages of 14 and 24 internship opportunities that allow youth to explore and prepare for high demand careers, gain work experience, and develop personal attributes necessary to succeed in the workplace. The participant target audience would be high school youth who are at risk of not graduating, who are from low-income households, or from communities underrepresented in Iowa workforce, and youth who otherwise would face barriers to success and upward mobility in the labor market, and youth enrolled in the WIOA Title I program as well. We will talk more about this partnership here shortly. But we are excited to partner again with WIOA Title I to find that target group of participants that the internship was intended for. Some eligible applicants would include nonprofits, educational institutions, employers, community organizations, and other entities that are in good standing with the state of Iowa. And again, applicants are strongly encouraged to co-enroll Summer Youth Internship applicants or participants with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, the Title I Youth Program in their local area. Going to stress that this year, having that co-enrollment in that that partnership there. At the beginning of the application, there will be a risk assessment section. Applicants are strongly encouraged to have legal representation and an accountant or bookkeeper to help manage any potential award and review agreements or procurement policies that would come up with that. And this section of the application will also cover conflicts of interest. So conflicts of interest would be applicants would be required to disclose in their application if any conflicts of interest exist. A conflict of interest would include payments for goods, services, rent, or work to another company owned by an applicant or any company applicant has an interest in, a family member or applicant, or a friend of an applicant. Conflicts of interest can be real, perceived, potential, or apparent. Some of the things the application is going to include is performance measures. All applications must include performance measures that logically connect a project's goal with the proposed activities that would include the anticipated number of youth that you are going to serve, the anticipated number of participants facing barriers related to the priorities on the previous slide, any credentials or certifications available for the participants, exposure to new career opportunities for the participants, and anticipated attendance and completion rates for the participants. And please be sure to review Appendix A. That is the application guidance and the scoring rubric that is contained in the notice of funding opportunity. It also gives you examples of the specific information your application should contain. The areas covered are design narrative, the performance measures I just outlined, your organization's capability, and the requirements for your budget summary and narrative. You'll want to be specific as possible in your budget narrative because the more detailed you are in that information you provide, the easier the job the reviewers will have in determining if your project meets the intent of this opportunity. And again, Appendix A also has the scoring rubric, which the reviewers will use to score your applications. Also be sure to familiarize yourself with the definitions that were outlined in the notice of funding opportunity. We've listed some of those here. High demand job, the internship definitions, definition of participant, priority funding, program coordination, and youth. We included the internship definitions for both IWD and WIOA Title I, and the IWD definition of youth, as well as the out-of-school youth and in-school youth definitions for WIOA Title I. Please be sure you are familiar with all of these definitions as you complete your application. A detailed list of high-demand jobs can be found on the Future Ready Iowa website, and I've provided a link there, and I will be sure to put that in the chat as well. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley to share with you the information for WIOA Title I.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. As previously mentioned, I am Ashley Sinwell, the Workforce Program Coordinator for the Title I Youth Program. And these next couple of slides will be giving a high-level overview of the Title I Youth Program and talking about partnership benefits to help make the connection of why we are strongly encouraging again this year applicants to partner with local areas and co-enroll with the Title I Youth Program. So you may be asking, if you haven't heard of the Title I Youth Program, what is it? And the Title I Youth Program is really a program that is designed to prepare youth that are ages 14 to 24, and you'll notice these are the exact same age range for the grant, who face those significant barriers for success, either for employment and or post-secondary education, which we provide those strong linkages for academic and occupational learning by providing resources and supports for the youth to overcome those barriers to successfully transition into self-sufficient adulthood. All right, next slide. Some more background information, like I said, very high level. The WIOA Title I program is landmark legislation that is designed to strengthen and improve our nation's public workforce system and help get Americans, including youth and those with significant barriers to employment, into those high quality jobs and careers and help employers hire and retain skilled workers. I've included a link here on the slide if you wanted to get more information on exactly, the ins and outs of the program. But like I said, just providing like a nice general high level overview. And you'll hear me say it again and again, but we're really wanting to empower individuals that have those significant barriers. to really maximize their employment, their economic self-sufficiency, independence, inclusion, to really integrate into society and maintain and survive and have self-sufficiency throughout their lifetime. All right, next slide. So part of our partnership, strongly encouraging the co-enrollment, there's some things that we'll be talking about and providing lists of local areas to enter into this. But to really be considered in a partnership with Title I and the program within your local area, a proof of partnership is required as part of the application process in a form of a written letter of support, and this will be uploaded as an attachment to your application. And this will be a benefit for you and the Title I local area contact. And the local area contact is the one that will have the letter of support template to be used. However, they're not the ones that are solely filling it out. It should be both parties helping to fill that out. So please refer to your notice of funding opportunity or the NOFO for a listing of local area contacts that has been updated. All right, next slide. So when we're thinking about some partnership benefits, by partnering with the Title I program, applicants are able to identify the participants most in need and those who meet the intended target audience to be served by the grant. Partnership with the Title I program may allow applicants to use Title I funds to cover the cost of items not allowed to be reimbursed through the Summer Youth Internship Grant Funds. But always be sure to check with your local area on what is and isn't allowed and allowable costs. They'll have the most up-to-date local policies and their thresholds of what they can help fund. This helps potentially with recruitment on both sides into the Title I program or the intended internship, and some other benefits that this partnership can really help both applicant and Title I local areas is the continued support for that youth to achieve any of their employment or educational goals outside of the length of the internship. So we'll talk a little bit more about some of those funding supports. So some things to keep in mind about this partnership. While applicants are strongly encouraged to partner and co-enroll, it is really up to the discretion of the local area to determine if the participants that the applicants are wishing to serve will be eligible for the Title I Youth Program. Now, we're not asking applicants for this grant to be experts in Title I eligibility. That's when you would have those conversations with your local area contact, but it is up to the discretion of what the local area can fund and who they can fund. So when thinking about the target audience for this program and who we serve in Title I, they are almost identical when we look at the ages and the different barriers and things like that that we're looking for. So when you're reaching out to your local area, we really encourage you to have that discussion and determine what a partnership could and or would look like and if it's mutually beneficial. At the very least, we're hoping to make some connections that you might not have had to certain programs in your area and really start laying that groundwork and foundation. Even if this might not be the best opportunity, we still hope to, build those relationships and see how we can partner maybe in the future. Another thing to note, if you are solely targeting in-school youth, it may not potentially be the best partnership opportunity with Title I, as the Title I Youth Program has a strong focus on serving our out-of-school youth. So if you are solely targeting in-school youth, you can still have that conversation with that local area. We do have funds to support in-school youth, but I just don't want you to get discouraged if the local area doesn't potentially have the threshold to support that. So just make sure you're having those discussions with your local area contacts and really seeing what that mutually beneficial partnership could look like. All right, I think, Melanie, next slide, and I may be done. Oh, wait, nope. We added a new slide. So a new thing this year that we learned from last year when we really piloted what strongly encouraging Title I co-enrollment would look like is kind of talking about some partnership responsibilities through lessons learned from both our awardees from last year as well as our local areas that were co-enrolling youth. So when we are thinking of the grant applicant, so you get awarded through this opportunity, really what could be some of those potential responsibilities. Now, everything on the screen does not mean it is 100% like, yes, it's going to be your responsibility. And there might be things on here that I didn't list. But really just making sure like you are talking and laying that groundwork. So as a grant applicant, some responsibilities that we kind of thought would really fall in that wheelhouse would be the recruitment of youth to the intended program. You know, you guys are really the driver of that internship program. You're looking at those pockets of youth. So you'd be that main driver of recruiting youth into the program. That's not to say that there are current Title I youth in those areas for these programs. That would be great to enter into a potential program, but you'd be that main driver of that. And through conversations with your local area, that local area can build in responsibilities for recruiting youth as well. Another grant applicant responsibility is really providing the opportunities to connect youth to the Title I staff. You know, you guys are going to be the ones, you know, up and running that program, making those opportunities available. And if you are co-enrolling and we're having that partnership with Title I, really being that driving force of, okay, can we make this connection to see if the youth are eligible to co-enroll or get into this program or supports that they may need. On the flip side to that, for the local area, what they're really going to be driving for the responsibilities would be that Title I enrollment process. You heard me say earlier, we don't require that our applicants are experts in enrollment into the Title I program. That's really going to be the local area doing that enrollment process, seeing if they're eligible, making the connection on the staff side and career planner side, and really driving that process. Another thing that a local area would have a main responsibility with would be providing information to the potential participants. So you guys are providing opportunities to connect the youth to the Title I staff, but then the Title I staff are really providing that information to the potential participants. What does the program do? What can it do to help support you? How can we really build out your goals beyond this internship program to help you reach any employment or educational goals down the line? So this could be making connections at job fairs, site visits, classroom visits, whatever works in the intention and design of your program. What would make the most sense to have that Title I youth person or staff there to make connections with those youth. Now, there are some responsibilities for both parties involved, right? Really that collaboration on partnership and working through that letter of support. The Title I local area staff have the letter of support, but that does not mean they're the ones filling out the whole thing, signing it and giving it to you. We're really wanting the responsibility to be on both parties, collaborating, talking about what that partnership could look like, listing out who's doing what and how that's going to work. And another thing that is really a both responsibility is communication on any participant progress or supports that they may need. Just because a youth is entering into one or the other programs or both doesn't mean that the communication stops and picks up when they're in each different respective program. It should be happening all around just to make sure that we are making sure that that youth is supported throughout their time. And if they happen to be co-enrolled in the Title I Youth Program, how can we then thus help them after the internship concludes? All right, Melanie, now I think I am done, so I'm going to turn it back over to you.
That's great. Thank you. So a little bit about the 2024 Summer Youth Internship Program funding. We have approximately $250,000 available in grant funding this year. That is allocated by state funds under House File 2564. IWD anticipates awarding grants to multiple applicants. Those grant awards are going to vary in differing amounts determined by the scope of the project. Funding decisions are made as funding is available, and IWD is not obligated to provide the maximum grant amount requested. We will seek to maximize grant awards to those programs which demonstrate the most significant programming and project responses, and for those whose projects indicate the possibility of the most significant community impact. And then again, we're just reiterating priority funding will be given to applicants co-enrolling the Summer Youth Internship Program participants with their Title I Youth Program. So a couple of dates to keep in mind. The project period is a minimum of 6 weeks, starting with May 1 and runs until August 31st of 2024. The estimated award period is April 1, 2024 through August 31. So while the project period begins May 1, successful applicants may start purchasing supplies, materials, training resources, and other things of that nature beginning April 1, which is the start of the award period. So only costs incurred within the award period would be eligible for reimbursement. Participant wages would only be eligible for reimbursement if they fall within that project period. So there's a little bit of a difference in what an award period and project period and what determines gets reimbursed in those dates. So the type of award, IWD will pay out grant funds to successful applicants on a monthly reimbursement basis after receipt of completed monthly project reports. Again, most of these slides are going to be for successful applicants, but we wanted to let you know ahead of time what's going to be required of anyone that gets awarded. So continuing on here, advance payments will not be allowed. Costs must be incurred within the award period. And then again, participant wages are reimbursable within that project period. There's no cost sharing or matching amount for this award. And applicants are strongly encouraged to have legal representation and an accountant or bookkeeper to help manage any potential award and to help review agreements and the procurement policy. We can't stress that last bullet enough. We have found with some previous awards, some applicants may not have fully understood the MOU agreement terms or reporting requirements. So it's very important that you understand the agreement that you would be entering into. So some uses of the grant funds, they may be used for the following: participant wages, their gross wages. Participants are going to be required to be paid a minimum of $12 an hour and fill out a W-4. We can reimburse for participant compensation as a result of completing the program. Training resources, which could include internet access, software, things such of that nature. Program supplies and materials, that could be uniforms, computers, books, but that's capped at $5,000 per category for that. Program coordination wages, and just to clarify that on program coordination, that is staff overseeing the day-to-day administration of the project whose primary job responsibilities involve direct participant contact hours. And then lastly, another use of the funds may be administrative costs, and that is limited to 10% of the award. Some award funds may not be used for some of the following here: participant stipends, reimbursement of food or drink, any award or graduation ceremonies, marketing or promotional materials, travel expenses, including vehicle purchase or lease, program transportation, reimbursement of workers' compensation insurance coverage, any fringe benefits, capital expenditures, building rental, utility expenses, and equipment over $5,000, and gift certificates, cards, or vouchers are not eligible expenses. And it looks like going back over to Ashley here.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. So like we said, with co-enrolling into the Title I Youth Program, that would bring up access to use of Title I Youth funding and helping with supports on that, which may cover some of those things that the grant may not be able to cover, but then we can help blend and braid some of that funding for those applicants within the Title I Youth Program. So when we're talking about the Title I Youth Program, all of these services listed out here on the slide must be made available to youth. And each local area works to provide these services to youth participants if it makes sense for that youth during their path to education, training, or employment goals. It's important to note that while each local area must have these made available. That doesn't mean that each youth is getting all of these services provided to them. It'll really look different for each youth that is in the program and what services that they are being provided. So just make sure you're checking with your local area when you're talking about potential partnerships and working through that little letter of support, what can be offered. This next slide will really detail more of the types of supportive services that are available to youth in the Title I Youth Program. When looking at just the supportive services for youth, there is quite the listing, but please note that each local area sets their own policy and limits for each of these categories. So depending on where you're located, each local area will have kind of their own ins and outs for those services. I will kind of highlight some big supportive services that get used a lot. But if you have any questions about what these may mean or like the definition of them, reach out to your local area and they'll be able to provide what it means to them for their youth that they're serving. Some big ones to kind of keep note that we've seen awardees and co-enrollees in the past have used. So transportation assistance. Title I can help cover any transportation assistance that's necessary for a participant to participate in any of the activities that they're enrolled in. So this can include job interviews, could include going to the site for internships and things like that. Clothing, we can help support any payments for clothing that are necessary for any of the Title I activities. That might help them with interviewing, employment, work experiences, if there's potential tools involved in a work site. We can help with dependent care for child care for licensed daycare providers, for the participant to work through any of their activities during their time. And things like that. So those are some of the major ones that we have really been able to support. But as you see on the screen, we have a lot that we can help out with at each local area, and funding supports are really provided at that level. So just make sure you're working with them to verify what they have. All right, Melanie, I think that's it for me. So back to you.
All right, thank you. So I just want to reiterate a little bit back on the use of funds. Just be sure to be as descriptive in your budget as possible. The more detail you have in there, the better understanding the reviewers are going to have on what expenses are going to be eligible uses of grant funds. I forgot to make those notes on that. So then we jump into another requirement that may be required, a procurement policy. So successful applicants may be required to provide a copy of their procurement policy to IWD along with return of their executed agreement. We can provide a procurement policy template upon request, but however, it is your responsibility to consult with the qualified and knowledgeable legal counsel to determine any specific rules or requirements that would apply to your individual circumstances. A procurement policy is to ensure the best value, that the most advantageous balance of price, quality, and performance is obtained when purchasing business-related products and services, and to minimize fraud, waste, and abuse in purchasing. So basically, we just want to be sure awardees are being good stewards with the state's funds. So therefore, we may have a procurement policy. And the procurement policy should outline pretty much at a minimum these what a micro purchase is of supplies of purchase of supplies or services under 10,000, and then small purchases, from 10 to 250,000, and then any purchases over 250,000. So now I'm going to just touch base on some of the other requirements of successful applicants. Again, we just want to make sure that you're aware of these going into the process of what you will be required to do for the as an awardee. So upon submission of the first monthly project report and reimbursement request, the successful applicant will be required to provide the following information. And that's going to be the executed agreement or application between the employer, the participant, showing their hourly rate, their work hours, and job duties. So along with that monthly project report, you can submit a reimbursement request. So with those, successful applicants will need to include these items on the report. And any reports that are required, they will be supplied to you from IWD. And I have provided some examples of those in these slides. So we're going to be asking the service or resource costs for the program participant, any timesheets for staff receiving wages from program funding. And we're going to need have that broke down by the hours worked of the youth, separated by the training and the service, the description of the services or training provided. We're going to ask for the number of youth served, the name, address, and positions of those youth, and then any remaining available grant funds, specifically those available to provide support for internship programs. And then we're asking for any certifications or credentials earned by that youth. And again, these monthly progress reports must be submitted and approved prior to approval of monthly reimbursements. No funds will be dispersed until those monthly reports are reviewed and approved. And then here we have just an example of what your monthly project report would look like. You pretty much just tab through and enter the information that we are requesting, and you would submit that on their due date or by the due date with any reimbursement request. So then we're going to dive into the reimbursement requests, and this the following support that for all expenses submitted for reimbursement. So we will need a receipt or an invoice with the name of the vendor, your organization's name, the date that falls within the award period, and description of goods or services provided. So along with that receipt or invoice, we're also asking for proof of payment, and that would also include who you paid to. So the name of the vendor again, your organization's name, amount that matches the receipt in the invoice, and proof of payment. And some acceptable proof of payment includes the front and back of a cleared check, a credit card statement, a bank statement, something that shows that that invoice was paid and it has gone through. So just submitting a copy of the check that you wrote that hasn't actually cleared yet is not acceptable proof of payment. So we would need like a cleared check. Screenshots from the financial or accounting system are not considered adequate proof of payment. If you are providing support for the wages, we would need a timesheet from that applicable pay period within the award period as well. That includes the employee's name, their hours worked, the signature from their supervisor approving the timesheet, and then the dates of employment. Again, we would need proof of payment for those wages, which would be ideally an employee pay stub or a detailed pay register for the work completed within that period of performance. And we're going to ask that we have all of that completed and payment of wages paid prior to September 30th. And we may need additional wage documentation if requested. And we also need that employee contract agreement stating the name of the organization, the name of the employee, the position title, and hourly wage signed by that employee. And there's also a final project report that's due, and that'll be due within 30 days of project completion. So again, by that September 30th, 2024 deadline, the final project report includes, we're going to ask for the amount and dates that the state funds were received, the number of employee partners or educational partners or nonprofit partners that you had, description of the partnership activities and responsibilities, and then a description of the activities that were paid for with grant funds, and the number of youth that was served by the program, including those of at risk or of not graduating or facing multiple barriers. We will also continue to ask the number of youth completing the program, the attendance rate of those completing, number and hourly rate of youth employed due to the participation in the program, credentials of the program attained, and then the number of participants earning a credential and the total number of credentials earned. We would like you to identify any program elements or program challenges. And if you can and are willing, you could share a success story, and then describe the number of youth successfully co-enrolled in Title I and the description of the Title I supported expenses. And then here we have just an example of what a final project report would look like. And it contains all of those bulleted items that were in the previous slide. And again, these are for successful applicants, but again, just making you aware of what would be required. So where would you go to apply? You would go to iowagrants.gov. And again, those applications opened up on January 18th and will close at 2 p.m. on Wednesday, February 21st. Applicants would need to register and complete their application at iowagrants.gov. So now we're going to watch a quick video that walks you through the Iowa Grants registration process.
All right, thanks, Melanie. I can go ahead and take over from here.
Okay.
If you can go ahead and stop sharing your screen, and I'll go ahead and start sharing mine.
Oh.
Thank you. All right, hopefully everyone is seeing a YouTube video of the state capitol. And this is just a short, I think it's a 4 to 5 minute video of how to set up an Iowa Grants account for the first time if you have not done so. And it walks you through the process of how to log in.
Welcome. This is a short tutorial on how to access Iowa Grants. First, go ahead and navigate to iowagrants.gov. Once you get to iowagrants.gov, go ahead and click on the blue button that states click here to access the single sign-on tool. Now, at this time, I just want to give you a friendly reminder, do not use the box enter your user ID and password or the yellow button that says click here to register. Please ignore those two items on this page. So I'm going to go ahead and click here to access my single sign-on tool. Now you have accessed the single sign-on page. Now, if you do not have an account, go ahead and click sign up at the bottom. Notice where it says do not have an account, click sign up. Go ahead and click sign up. Go ahead and enter your first name. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate a trainer account today. And enter in your last name. Go ahead and put in an email address. This could be any email address, the email address that you have access to. So I'm going to go ahead and put a trainer account in here. A valid email address. So once you have the first name, last name, and email in the appropriate boxes, go ahead and click sign up. Now, this following screen will not appear for most of you. However, some of you may realize or may not realize that you have currently an id.iowa.gov account already set up using some of our other state of Iowa applications. How will you know if you have an account set up? You would get an error message much like this. It says a user with this email already exists. So if you receive this error, no worries. Go back and click on already have an account. Go ahead and use that same email address that you just typed in and click next. And then you would be asked to enter in your password and continue on to the dashboard. If for some reason you might have forgotten your password or maybe unable to log in, you can go ahead and click forgot password in the password page, or you can go back to sign in. And if you need to unlock your account, you could go ahead and do so. Now we're going to continue on for those that do not have an email address in the id.iowa.gov and continue on with that process. Now you are asked to set up security methods. There is no wrong way to set this up, but I'm going to go ahead and show you the recommended way. Go ahead and select the option password. Go ahead and click set up underneath password. Now you'll notice there are some password requirements. Go ahead and make sure you review those password requirements and go ahead and enter a password and then re-enter a password. Once you've entered a password and re-enter password, go ahead and click next. Now you are doing the next step, which is to verify your email. This is where you're going to navigate to your current email box, look for an email from id.gov, and you will go ahead and find a verification code. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm currently in my current email system, which is Gmail, but this would work for any email system. You would get an email from admin@iad.iowa.gov. Once you open that email, you will see a one-time code. You could quickly just copy that code or memorize it and go ahead and go back to the screen that you currently were on and enter in that code. I'm going to go ahead and navigate back to the id.gov and go ahead and enter that code and click verify. If for some reason you didn't get it, go ahead and click send again if you want to have it be sent to your inbox. You might want to check your spam or other folders within your inbox, but it should come in directly to your email. I'm going to go ahead and click verify. Now this page is to set up additional security methods. Now what this is just to give you one more additional security method to identify who you are. We strongly encourage maybe to check out setup phone. If you choose to, that's the most common one. You're used to these multi-factor authentications, especially in financial institutions. So again, just add an extra set of layer of security if you choose to. You could choose phone if you want. The other one that we recommend is Okta Verify. But again, not required, but maybe strongly encouraged. Again, I'm going to go ahead and click set up later, and then I will be currently signed into Iowa Grants. Now this page will vary per user. This is an example of a brand new user to Iowa Grants. They will be asked to complete the registration portion, which is this particular page. However, some of you will fall under the bucket of actually already having an Iowa Grants account, and you will be prompted to a brand new page, which will get you directly where you need to go. Before I end this video, I strongly encourage you to check out the resources below in the description to learn more on how to get signed into Iowa Grants. Thank you so much.
All right, so that was just a quick tutorial on how to set up an account with Iowa Grants for the first time. What I'm going to walk through now is to just once you're logged into the Iowa Grants program, how do you find the Summer Youth Internship Notice of Funding Opportunity and the application. So you'll notice that once you log in, you might see your first and last name in the black box to the upper left-hand side of the screen, and you should be seeing just basically the Iowa Grants web banner kind of as a home screen. To search for funding opportunities, you go to the ribbon on the left-hand side that says Funding Opportunities and select that option. Now, you won't see all the test applications. You'll see only the ones that are posted with the screen posted section. But the easiest way to find the Summer Youth Internship Grant is just to search for summer. And you can see quickly all the other opportunities went away. And the only one opportunity listed currently that is listed with the word summer in it is the Future Ready Iowa 2024 Summer Youth Internship Grant. You can see that it's posted, and it was posted on the 18th of January. The application due date is the 21st of February at 2 p.m. Central Time. Now, you can choose any of these words, such as future or future ready, summer. If you want to memorize the 544599 ID of the grant, you can. You can type any of that information into the search box. Summer is probably the easiest one to remember. Once you have that funding opportunity available, go ahead and select it. And this will open up an abbreviated version of the Notice of Funding Opportunity. So you can see that there's just the title of it, as well as just some generalized information, a very short description of the information that is all listed in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. But the main thing to do is to scroll to the bottom. And once you're there, you'll see two attachments. You'll see the full Notice of Funding Opportunity that you can download as a PDF, and also a blank W-9 form. What I would suggest doing is downloading both of these forms at the beginning, so that way you have access to them whenever it is time for your submission. You will need to submit a W-9, a completed W-9 as part of your application. And then the full Notice of Funding Opportunity is the full, I'm going to blank on the number of pages, but maybe 14-page document that goes through the scoring rubric, the funding requirements, the period of performance, the eligible items for reimbursement. So it's a good document to have and to reference while you're filling out your application. Once you're ready to begin your application, if you scroll to the top, you will see a green button on the right-hand side that says Start New Application. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you'll see that it pulls up some just very general information of what is the title of your application, who is the primary contact, the organization, and some additional contacts. Once you have that information saved, you can click the Save Information, and you will now have an application started. What I'm going to do is go back. So I'm going to use the back arrow at the top right-hand or top left-hand corner. I'm going to go back to the Notice of Funding Opportunity page, and you can see that there is a test application already started. So once you start and title an application, you can save it and close the program and go back in and out of the application as much as you would like, as long as it's still in this editing status. So again, this is a test application that I already previously started. The only thing I did was complete the title and the contact information, so nothing else has been added onto this application. But this is what the application will look like. When you're ready to start editing, you would select the Edit Application button. Again, it's a green button on the upper right-hand side. But I'm going to scroll through and just show you a couple of the areas that you'll want to highlight. So again, I just clicked the Edit Application, and it gives me the different areas of the application that needs to be submitted, okay? The General Information tab, you can see it's already completed. That is just the title and the contact person. The Minority Impact Statement and the General Sheet or Cover Sheet General Information are two state forms. So those are, again, just some general information of where you're located, who, what House of Representative location are you in, contact information. I'm thinking maybe the W-9, the federal FEIN number. So just some general contact information, website or email and phone numbers. Then you'll select the Summer Youth application form. And this is where you're going to be spending a majority of the time while you're filling out the application, because this is the form that begins asking the actual information about your program. So I'm going to select the Edit Form button that you saw on the right-hand side. You can see that anything that is labeled in red is a required field. Anything that is black is not a required field. Once you fill out the beginning section, this first three sections are just kind of a risk assessment of knowing if you've had grants in the past, do you have a conflict of interest, that type of information. And as you scroll through, you'll begin seeing the body of the application, starting with the project design narrative. This is laid out and should follow exactly Appendix B in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, which is the scoring rubric. So this should all be laid out specifically in order for you. And so you should be able to use that Notice of Funding Opportunity that you saved previously and use that as a guide for each section. If you feel like this text box is not big enough, you can hover over the bottom right-hand corner until you get those arrows, and you can make the box larger or smaller. You can see how many characters are left. This is 15,000 characters in this one section. And again, it is laid out in the same order as, I believe it's Appendix B in the Notice of Funding Opportunity. So we're asking about on-the-job training descriptions, the project goals, the community and state partnerships, the service area. And so you'll answer all these sections. And at any time that you want to close the program, always make sure you save form before you close out of the program. Again, you can go in and out of this program as much as you like, so you do not have to finish the entire section before you can save. I can fill out just one section, save it, and come back to it tomorrow. So you can see as I'm scrolling through, this is again where the majority of the time is going to be spent when you're typing in the information and describing your program. So timeline of activities, success and evaluation indicators, relatable past experience, organization information, and so on. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to the top. Again, this is a large section of this application. And I'm going to go, I'm going to select the back button. It's okay, I haven't typed in any information, so that was just a warning that I'm going to lose any information if I just click back without saving. And then you can see that each tab takes me through a different section of the application. So you can see the minority impact statement, the general information that we already talked about, the cover sheet. Then we have the budget narrative, the budget spreadsheet, and the application attachments. We already just went over these application forms, so we're now going to talk about the budget narrative. And this is the section that Melanie was talking about where we really want to have the descriptive features listed here. Again, we're going to click Edit Form, which is on the right-hand side, the green button that says Edit Form. That's going to pull up the same type of text box that we saw before. I'm going to enlarge it a little bit. You can see that we have 50,000 characters for this section, so hopefully that's enough characters for everybody. But you can see an example at the bottom too, is it's kind of the detail that we're looking for. Again, this is a narrative version of the spreadsheet of all the different categories that you're going to be entering in just a bit. Okay. Again, I'm going to click the back arrow because I'm done with this section. Again, it's going to say, are you sure? Did you save? Again, I didn't type any information in, so it's okay for me to leave this page. It's going to take me back to the area where we had the different tabs. So again, here's a minority impact statement, cover sheet, and so on. I'm going to go to the budget spreadsheet. And the budget spreadsheet is a very generalized grid, basically, of the information that you just typed into the narrative. You can see that it's going to ask the number of anticipated participants. So I have 15 in here. And then we have the different amounts for each of the main budget categories. So we have participant wage support. We have participant compensation as a result of completing the program. We have training resources. We have the program coordination, administrative expenses. You can see that I also added some totals in here. If at any time I want to go back in and edit these, I just select the edit grid option, and you can see that it opens up those areas where I can change the amounts right there. I click save grid because I did change something on this one, and you can see that the total requested amount is now 29,900 for the program that I've my fictitious program that I've entered into this test application. You can see also that 25,000 has been updated at the bottom here. You do have to mark sections as complete whenever you have completed them. As you do that, if you go back to the app list, once you mark a section as complete, you'll get this green check mark that says complete and the date that you last edited it. Once you have all the sections complete, you would be able to submit your application. But the last section before we do that is the application attachments. The application attachments is asking for letters of support. You can see that that's not required, but it is an option. We have the W-9 that is required, and we have the procurement policy that Melanie discussed in the webinar, which is not required, but still option if you would like to submit that. To submit an attachment, you would just select the item that you're attaching, and it's just like uploading something to an email. You select the file, preferably PDFs if you can, and a short description of what the attached file is, and then you save the file. Again, once you've selected or once you've attached everything that you would like, go ahead and mark complete. One thing I would ask you, if you want to attach another attachment that is not one of these three options, please include it into one of these three options. So you can scan multiple pages as a PDF. Maybe under letters of support, you have 2 letters of support, but you also really want to attach a map for more clarification. Scan that in as part of the letters of support as a 3rd page. And that way you can still submit that information if that's something that you feel is important to your application. All right. Again, at any time that you want to go back to each of the sections, you can click the app list, and then it pulls you into this, gives you this preview menu of the same information that we just saw earlier. So the application form, budget narrative, budget spreadsheet, and attachments. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Melanie.
Hey, thank you, Patrick. I think that just about wraps it up. Just want to touch on, make sure that you are checking out the appendices in our notice of funding opportunity. I know, Patrick, you said Appendix B, but I believe the application guidance and scoring rubric is now Appendix A. Appendix B is the frequently asked questions. So if you have a question, you might want to reference that page first to see if it's already been answered previously. If not, you can go ahead and reach out to me or Patrick, depending on your question. And Appendix C kind of just details that video we watched again. It has iowogrants.gov and going over the new user registration instructions. So just to wrap up, if you have questions on the Summer Youth Internship and the opportunities available within that, you can contact me. That's my email address there. Then if you have specific questions on Iowa grants or application questions, you can reach out to Patrick, and there's his contact email there. And then also I just laid out again the Future Ready Iowa website again. So I guess we can open it up to any questions that we've been receiving in the chat. And then just a reminder, we will try to provide a Q&A with all the questions answered from this webinar. Just give us a few days to get that wrapped up, and we can get that posted. So yeah, well, thanks for joining us.